Let's talk about Depp and Amber Heard, why not? I've made one previous video just wanting to acknowledge the idea that Johnny Depp is a drug abuser. They both are. Amber and Johnny both use drugs, and that together they created a toxic relationship, and one that was probably so intense and probably very real at the start, and something that became a runaway freight train. And what we're seeing now is an absolute disaster. And I just wanted to talk a little bit later on in this video about how many more disasters we can expect now with these suits and countersuits of people that have lived some really intense lives on the edge, okay? Because that's what the experience being Johnny and Amber was like. It really was on the edge. Johnny met Amber when he was developing and bringing to life this movie based on Hunter S. Thompson's writings and experiences, and he's pursued Amber Heard for the role. He wanted the American dream, to play the American dream. When you look at Amber Heard and her specific beauty, where she came from and where she was taking herself to, you can see why she was ringing all his bells, ticking all his boxes, and would have been a very intriguing, very exciting young woman. And she absolutely captivated him and captured him. He cast her in Rum Diary, and from the time they made the movie to the time they got together, 2 years passed, and Johnny Depp says, I couldn't stop thinking about her. He was thinking about Amber Heard at a time when Vanessa Paradis was removing herself from their union, the union that had created Lily Rose Depp and then Jack Depp. And I think the union lasted 14, 15 years maybe. So it was at a time when Johnny Depp was vulnerable in life to aging, to being on his own, to wanting to feel like he's got the mojo, right? And yeah, Amber Heard came in like a wrecking ball, and she definitely was not a relationship wrecking ball. From what we can extrapolate, it seems that Vanessa and Johnny were already breaking up, falling apart, or separating, and she would have come in and taken his breath away. And an ambitious girl like Amber is still creating who she is. She's a different person to someone that Johnny Depp had been with before. If you know anything about Winona Ryder, Kate Moss, and Vanessa, etc., all these women with very specific vibes and just ways of being, I don't know. Amber is someone that is always destroying and creating herself, it seems, and going through stages where she is intensely vulnerable because she is so frightened of not being seen to be cool enough, smart enough. She's so stunningly beautiful. Back when Johnny Depp met her, she'd come out of this awkward phase. She'd been starring in movies where I think sort of these rites of passage maybe for some actors and actresses, and was starting just then to bloom, to become more polished and to refine her persona and create movie star Amber with a bit more gravitas, etc. But I think what she says about her and Johnny being people that recognized each other at a soul level, I think there's truth to that. Also truth with damage seeing damage. You know, except Amber isn't Johnny and Johnny isn't Amber, and I think he thought, you know, here's my wild horse, or I think he did think he'd found perfection for the next phase of his life. And maybe he thought marrying her after years of issues, this would finally give her what she wanted, what she said she wanted. Amber doesn't know what she wants. And he thought crazily, desperately, that marriage would cool her and calm her. And of course it didn't. But Johnny has to accept that he's just being a biological knee-jerk reaction. He is someone, for all his glamour and his style and his talent and charm and wealth and good looks, you know, he's just being a walking cliche. He's an older man, thunderstruck, let's say, thunderstruck by this bombshell that he somehow thinks he can control. This doesn't happen like this. It happens if it can happen with very young girls who are very willing to be shown and taught and taken care of. And everything about Amber Heard would have been very alluring to Johnny Depp, and he bought in. And Amber herself says it was like magic, and we know let's just say it's a Malbec in honor of this discussion. You know, when you're Johnny Depp and you have hundreds of millions of dollars and you're wooing a young lady, the love bombing can be pretty intense, right? So is it love bombing, or is it just a man wooing a woman, a man who has a lot of means? Now, you might think, I mean, I would love it if a man bought me a Colt, C-O-L-T. However, you need to be there to develop a relationship with your horse. A horse, you should never give animals as a gift, as an unspoken gift, like as something as a surprise, because it's exactly like with a kitten, a puppy. This is a sentient being we're talking about, and you don't just give them away at Christmas or in a wood. They're not flowers. They're not a trip to Paris. It's a sentient being that then demands that you develop a relationship with it, and you're there caring for it. And it's not a matter of stabling this horse. Sure, it can be someone else's problem. It could be very well cared for. Who's developing the relationship with the horse? You know, and at this time, she didn't have resources to stable this horse. I mean, I think this is Johnny Depp wanting to corral Amber Heard into a stable. Well, if you've got this horse, you're going to be at the ranch. Where are you going to be? You're going to be in Orange. You're going to be where? You know, Kentucky, on the farm with this horse. It's such a grand gesture, and he pushed it on her, apparently. I mean, a beautiful gesture, but it should be something that's spoken about. Had she expressed she wanted a colt, a gelding, a stallion? Oh, she wanted one of those, all right. So, you know, there's a tension that becomes a third figure, an entity in a relationship when it's like that, I find. These just big, beautiful, romantic gestures and being very caught up. I'm sure the love was incredibly intense, but did they ever talk then about what really is this and how do you expect it to work? And Amber was very hurt when Johnny would just disappear. And of course Johnny's going to disappear. He's going to dry out. He's going to go and work. And he's Johnny Depp, and he can. He's got his projects. He's got his interests. Anyway, what I found what am I going to say? Let's just say this. You know, when Amber doesn't know when to stop. She doesn't know how far to draw, where to draw the line, right? She's just constantly taking it too far. And she's trying to say that, I mean, the world, we all know about Winona Forever turned into Wino Forever. It's hilarious. But Johnny would never erase that. Johnny loved Winona. Johnny has a lot of respect for Winona. She's more of a kindred soul, right, to Johnny. And someone, you need to be sensitive about what's gone on in your partner's past, right? I don't believe Amber for a minute when she tries to tell the court that she didn't know what this squiggle was, that she didn't know it meant Winona. I think she was violently jealous. I think she was so extremely jealous, but so young and stupid and arrogant that she somehow thought she could mock him for it. She wanted to hurt him. She instantly regrets it, most likely, but she talks about him slapping her when she has mocked his tattoo. That meant something to him because it meant a part of his life when he was probably 25 and Winona was 17. They did Edward Scissorhands together, and later she tries to say in the middle of a fight or being shoved by Johnny, she's suddenly thinking about Kate Moss and the stairs. Whatever the fuck that means, right? But she knows about that. She knows about something clearly more obscure about a past relationship that Johnny Depp had with Kate Moss. What, was there fear about Kate being pushed downstairs? Was there a stair incident in a less famous relationship. It lasted less time, I think. But she knows about that, and this is apparently going through her mind, and yet she didn't know the danger of, or how just plain rude it would be to talk in a disparaging way about Winona Ryder on his arm, because she didn't have the maturity. And it bugged her. So she is contriving something, and now she's mentioned a past relationship and a past situation. So this might open up things for Johnny's team to talk about, being Amber and her past relationship with her wife, where she was seen shoving and hitting her wife, and a policeman went over and arrested her. I don't know. You know, there's a few ways to look at everything she says, you know, when, oh, she remembers details about the dirty carpet, but that to me seems contrived, because it's all the I remember. She seems, I think there's times when she's being more real, and it's not at those times. Johnny Depp wanting to do a cavity search for drugs. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to do a cavity search for another man's sperm, Amber. I mean, you know, that seems more realistic. I don't know, though. I think Johnny was a very foolish man. He didn't understand what he was getting into. He did think that he was wooing the American dream, the all-American girl that was just so different, and you can see in, you know, early interviews of her and everything, how it's so important to her how she is perceived, and she's very concerned about, I mean, she's not Jennifer Lawrence, let's just say that, right? And I'm not saying Jennifer Lawrence doesn't care at all. I'm just saying she's natural, and she's not worrying about the next thing that she might be asked or have to say, and if she's going to say something that shows her intelligence or her knowledge or her interests, you know. There's something deeply insecure about Amber Heard like that. I was just thinking, so, okay, let me have a... What are you guys doing tonight? Sunday night here. I think it's been Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mummy humanimals of children that you have in your arms now, have in your lives now, or may never have in your arms again. Just happy Mother's Day. I don't know how interested you'll be in this. Feel free to wander off. But do you remember Alcian Childs? He was a winner of a singing competition. I don't know if it might have been American, Australian Idol, something like that, or A Star Is Born. So one of these talent shows. And he was a great performer. He was a rock star, you know. Just kind of Johnny Depp-like, I think, in looks. Well, not really in looks, but, you know, got that vibe with the hair and the, you know, the clothing, and he really gave 100% in his performances. He completely committed, and he was someone who had entered the competition, as, you know, as an older person. He wasn't this 20-something. This was his chance. If he was going to be doing it, this was it. I think he was in his 30s. and he was involved in the music industry subsequently for 2 or 3 years, and then he disappeared. He had a relationship with a very young woman, a fan, who had contacted him through either a fan club or something like that, and with the blessing of her mother, I think she was 15 when they met, or 17, something like this, very young, and then ended up having a relationship. But anywho, do you remember? And you can watch it now. I think the original channel it was on has gone, but many people play it. It's 5 hours, 17 minutes long, and it's Altian Child's, you can say, X Factor. So X Factor winners expose of the Freemasons, or something like that. You know, what it truly is, right? And so what he does is you can take it or leave it. It's nothing to me what you think of it. I'm not making any statement about it. I'm just telling you about it. He goes on to talk about the entertainment industry and how satanic it is, and how Freemasonry is really Luciferianism, and he does an expose on all the celebrities and in music and movies who belong to the cult. And both Amber Heard and Johnny Depp are exposed in this way. You know, all the photos. You know, all this shit. Okay, so who's included there? Marilyn Manson, who is a friend of Depp's. John Cleese, and we know that Depp is a huge Monty Python fan. So people of my age or older, probably more so the era that know about Monty Python's Flying Circus and the films Life of Brian and Holy Grail, right? And you quote, he's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy. There's a lot, live organ donations. It's something that makes you think. It shoves things in your face. It's sick, and it's often true. So Amber Heard and Johnny Depp are part of Altian Child's expose. And, some of Depp's heroes, we know it includes Hunter S. Thompson. He's with Alice Cooper in the Hollywood Vampires. Marilyn Manson, okay, so this is why I wanted to talk about this, because this court case, so Amber wrote an op-ed stating that someone that she'd been in a relationship with was abusive, and she didn't name Depp in the op-ed, but now he's the one that outed himself, and Hollywood's turned his back, the world's turned his back. I mean, I never believed it, but the world turned their back en masse, and so he's she's suing him, he's suing her. It's a mess, and a lot of people are very supportive of Depp because they know that, well, too many people get accused of so many things, and whereas their justice, so they support Johnny for fighting back, for standing up to the fucking lies, right? But I think people have ridden that, they're just taking too far, because Johnny, I mean, God love him, right? I mean, he's charming, he's sweet, he's funny. he's probably a nightmare as well. But Amber Heard is a freaking nightmare. Johnny knew better. He bit off more than he could chew. He didn't know what he was getting, you know. And I've been caught in this thing that, you know, you're getting older and your men are getting younger, right? But you've got to know what you're getting. And Johnny didn't. He fantasized about Amber for 2 years after making Rum Diary. And he thought he could just have her a certain way, and she wasn't what he bought, right? And it went on way too long. They should never have married. Anyway, so what is happening now is Marilyn Manson, whose real name is Brian something Warner. Brian, what is his middle name? Hugh, because his father's name is Hugh. When Brian Warner started his band Marilyn Manson, he'd been in a band before that and then started Marilyn Manson. So everyone in the band, most people in the band, they take the name of this icon, right? This icon, the Hollywood dream, maybe, if you will, Marilyn Monroe, Daisy Duke, etc., and then put it together with a serial killer. So Marilyn Monroe, Charles Manson, Marilyn Manson. He had a what's Daisy Bukowicz, but why can't I remember now? Anyway, I've got things written down. You know, the American dream and something to destroy it. And Marilyn Manson just gets darker and darker and darker until he becomes, Brian Warner becomes Marilyn Manson. He embodies it. And what's happening now is, sorry, this is really boring, sorry, because I'm very scattered and I'm watching the time. I'm going to run out. He has a lot of allegations against him. And, you know, this talk, is he going to sue? Is he going to counter-sue back? Now, I don't know if it's going to get this far, really, because he's not, just because he's friends with Johnny Depp, someone universally loved, someone so loved, in fact, that with his wealth, he has a team of enablers, right, that smooth things out, you know, the head in the toilet and that sort of thing, right? And you still love him for it, right? But, you know, Johnny Depp probably can only handle so much of being straight and sober because, you know, it's hard being sober when you've got so much you want to run from. And Amber would have been great fun at first because I've no doubt that she enjoyed the lifestyle. So Evan Rachel Wood, she is an actress, I believe. She alleges that Marilyn Manson made her drink his blood, R-word her in her sleep, and she does explain that further. Hit her with a Nazi swastika whip, electric shocks to her genitals. Evan withheld Marilyn Manson's name for years, right? Multiple women have accused him since he was named, and there are several lawsuits regarding physical and sexual abuse. Marilyn Manson is counter-suing, citing defamation, emotional distress, and impersonation over the internet. Marilyn Manson, through his lawyers, denies all claims and says it is a coordinated attack by former partners to weaponize details of his personal life and their consensual relationships via fabricated horror stories. Evan does have someone who says that they've witnessed some of the abuse. I think actually most people that are bringing charges against, or these, you know, allegations against Manson do have witnesses. He's a pretty dark soul. You know, What's interesting about Marilyn Manson, and it's funny that he had that fascination with serial killers to the point that his band members use surnames Bundy, Berkowitz, etc., Ramirez. His father seems to have all the hallmarks of a serial killer. Yeah, Hugh. So, and, you know, most of this is just from articles in Wikipedia and also the Rolling Stone magazine. So Marilyn Manson has a cult following. The names were from a sex symbol and from a serial killer. And, I mean, true crime is, you know, sex and killing, right? So, you know, there was Twiggy Ramirez, Daisy Berkowitz, Madonna Wayne Gacy, Olivia Newton Bundy. These were some of the names of his band members. And there's always this anti-religious overtone, just like with the Monty Python people, right? Eric Idle. Terry Gilliam, who directed Rum Diary, was in Monty Python. This is a hyper satirical comedy group who through the 70s, through my era, just absolutely broke down barriers, right? They were nearly the first to bring certain things out to talk about openly and to make it okay. They were so punk, right? They're like punk comics. And, you know, this is the world Johnny Depp really appreciates. I mean, I love his dark humor. I feel like Angelina Jolie and Johnny Depp would have been a better match, right? She's got that noir, she gets the cultural references, she gets the noir humor. Amber is too uptight for that and too insecure. So yeah, Marilyn Manson and his very offensive and obscene stage shows. He had an album in 1996, The Antichrist Superstar, and yeah, there are things about him that are just so grotesque, and the iconography that he uses, it's grotesque, and he's been accused, or I don't know if you can conclude this, but he's been accused of, you know, having something to do with Columbine, you know, inspiring Columbine. He's certainly inspired suicide from this 1996 album. The Reflecting God was the song, I believe. This young boy cited as his influence for taking his own life. So he paints, you know, there's a joke. I don't know if it's a joke, right? I saw in an Ellen DeGeneres show, Ellen asking Johnny for, oh, I hear you paint elephants. I wonder what the inside joke is here. Marilyn Manson is painting the Black Dahlia, painting her body parts. And, you know, what is Johnny actually painting? But he did give Ellen a painting of an elephant. Yeah, Manson likes to paint the Black Dahlia's mutilated body. He's accused of promoting sadomasochism, and he's accused of practicing this by these women that are bringing these allegations against him. There's this, you know, he had for many, many years this apartment above this record store or something like that, and it was painted black. It was kept freezing cold. It's like a freaking meat locker. And one of these little, it had used to be a little recording room, and so it was soundproof, this little booth the size of a WP, a toilet, and he would lock his women in there, punish them, starve them, allegedly. So the apartment decorated black, with blood, porn magazine, swastika, with AIDS spray painted above his bed, and a person bringing charges is also Esme Bianco. She alleges he kept her awake. And you know, anyone that's been abused, these things ring true. Kept her awake, kept her tired, hungry, bit her, bruised her all over, whipped her, arred her, chased her with an axe, making holes in walls, saying she's crowding him. So women say that he conditioned them through flattery and dark humor. Dark humor can be a way of exposing yourself without admitting it, right? Without, you know, then plying them with drugs and alcohol, breaking them down, so controlling their eating and sleeping habits, keeping them captive emotionally and physically, and describes as, you know, tricks people into liking him and then destroys them. Yeah. His stage shows, have you ever seen him, Aaron? I haven't. I wouldn't want to go to a stage show, but, you know, if we hear about what happens in these shows, he has gimps, if you will, you know, women, men. There was one where a man was in a duffel bag next to the drum kit. The entire show, he came out, he got beaten, and then he put himself back into the bag. Women that are on stage being abused, you know, kept and abused on stage. He kept tapes of sexual encounters, allegedly, and would show them to subsequent lovers. He's written albums about abuse with songs of the physical and sexual abuse of a 6-year-old boy. He was engaged to Rose McGowan. Remember that? I was just like, what the lady, you're beautiful. What are you doing? Wow, okay, whatever rocks your boat. He was married from 1997, engaged, 97 to 2001. And she's not admitting abuse, but she admits to sort of behaviors that would go on, love bombing, isolating, threatening, and berating. Yeah, and then Hunter S. Thompson. This is a hero of Depp's. And okay, I get it. He can appreciate the poetry, the beatnik writing. I mean, wouldn't you be better off reading Ginsberg if you don't like the parts where there's abuse? So Hunter S. Thompson was also born in Kentucky. Depp was born in Kentucky. Hunter was born in 1937. He had a couple of wives. He had a child to his first wife, I think Sandy. The child was called Juan, who is engaged in his life in a very, what might be thought of as a very middle class, normal way. You know, he's an IT expert. But he was there when his dad died, and his father was married by this time to a woman called Anita. And, you know, the family was used to being abandoned and being witness to this volatility. And, you know, because gonzo journalism, okay, so gonzo journalism is immersing yourself in the story. How Hunter became established was being involved with the Hells Angels, because Hunter had he'd gone to uni, he'd been to military school, and he came out and he got a couple of little jobs at a paper, but he somehow got the not project, because that's more in my line of what would it be called, got the got allocated to the, well, you know, he got the okay to write an article about Hell's Angels. So getting, you know, he went and got to know them, I guess, you know, lived this really on the edge lifestyle, probably just tolerated by them. I've only got 10 minutes, oh my God. That's how we came into, you know, prominence, right? And that's what gonzo journalism mean, you know, immersing yourself in that story. I mean, it's really the ultimate method acting, right? And Johnny's all about that. And he immerses himself in these characters, so I can see why he's so attracted to people like Hunter. But, you know, Marilyn Manson, so you got to put this together with supporting the Westminster Three. What does he connect with Damien Eccles? Does he see someone misunderstood? Or does he see, you know, this dark edge, right? Yeah. So think about it. You've got Hunter S. Thompson, Terry Gilliam, Monty Python. All those quotes, they mean something. If you, I know about these people, but maybe they're not in your history, but they're in my life growing up. I suggest just have a look. This is why I talk about Depp the way I do. I'm curious, because it's not all right. It's not, what is this interest, right? You know, and is it just the drugs talking and this toxicity and this, it's just so sad. It's quite sad. But is it dark? What is it? I don't believe Amber, but I believe Amber. I don't believe Johnny, but I believe Johnny. And that's where I'll have to leave it, because time's gone. But anyway, Hunter S. Thompson, 45 caliber. There's conspiracies. The FBI did it, but very sad. I don't want Amber to go. Amber is at risk, and Johnny might be at risk of suicide, real harm. We need to remember this when we're talking about them on the platform and putting all this energy out into the world, that